Today we're answering your community questions. It's Matt Chat Q&A. Let's get started. Our Clips 23 says, if CM Punk wins a World Heavyweight Championship in this run in WWE and overall has a great last run, will he be considered as one of the greatest in WWE? I don't know. I think it's just subjective in general, like what's gonna qualify him to be greatest of all time or one of them. It depends also, I think, on how this final, what is possibly his final run, how it goes, and how long is it going to be? Is he multi-years? Is he going to be there for like 5 years wrestling until the wheels come off? If this is his final run where it's going to be like 2-3 years and then he goes in the Hall of Fame, it just really depends. If he goes well, he'll probably be up there because, again, if everything goes smoothly, he'll have probably some of the biggest feuds. He'll have the Seth match. He'll probably have a Cody match, Randy. You'll have Roman. Like, he'll go through all of those feuds if everything is going smoothly. So if the stories are compelling, he could be up there. Jay Chapman says, what's the best thing you've learned about yourself while being a YouTuber? Non-related wrestling question. It's a lot of work. Best thing you've learned about yourself? I think, well, for me personally, I think is that it's realizing I have more discipline than before. I do this full time, so I've got the whole story. I won't bore you with details of what happened before, but I was full time in like a very good corporate position, and COVID hit, and I got let go. So switching over to YouTube full time, trying to follow what is kind of my passion, what I wanted to do for many years, I was nervous and scared about starting. And I think one of the things I learned is that, I've got more drive than I realized, because also your back's against the wall, so you kind of have to make it work. I Do Random Things says, if Cody is the cover star for 2K24, do you think there will be a different variation of Cody for the deluxe edition or a different star? I want 3 or 4 people on the cover like the SmackDown vs. Raw days, maybe even the Judgment Day. I could totally see that. So if you guys don't know, we did another video on this on the channel the other day, but according to BWE Online, it looks like Cody is the cover star for 2K24. Will we get variations of the covers? Quite possibly. I think they would do what they did with Ray and John Cena, where the standard, deluxe, and icon edition, whatever, are going to give you 3 variations of it. Now, what they could do is something cool, and I agree with you, Mr. Random Things. I love them to do like Cody Standard Edition, a Nightmare Edition as the deluxe, and the icon or whatever that top one is, I would like them to do like, Judgment Day cover, or doing one where it's multiple stars on the cover, or like Cody and Roman. I'd like to see that. I don't think that's too far-fetched because in 22, we got the NWO edition, right? And that was the cover. So we had the 2 Rays and then we had the NWO. So they could do it again. Long Shadow says, what if they decide to do 40 years of WrestleMania? They would probably have to do it next year's game because I'm pretty sure they have the showcase star for 24. I think it's Randy Orton. I would like to see a 40 years of WrestleMania. It's going to be good if they got the right matches for it. Yeah, it depends. I'm kind of leaning towards they do another traditional showcase and then they give us 40 years of WrestleMania in 2K25, because then we would have passed this year's WrestleMania, because if they want to include WrestleMania 40, they can't do it yet. So they need another year to go back and look at what happened at WrestleMania 40 to add any of those matches if they want to do that. So I kind of suspect they would do 40 years of WrestleMania next year. They could do it for this year. I mean, I would love it. I think a lot of people in the community have said they want something like a 40 years, and it doesn't necessarily have to cover every single WrestleMania, but they could just cherry pick some of the key moments of WrestleManias over the years and some awesome matches, because you can't do, if you go back to like WrestleMania 2000, you can't do any of those matches. Look at the card top to bottom, because I don't believe anybody is like, either they can't do the match because they're not there in AEW or something, or the stars are not legends, they don't have legends deals. So like that pay-per-view, that WrestleMania, they almost can't even do the card, like they can't even do that show. Spider-Man Unofficial says, do you think other versions of Cody like Stardust, Dashing, and Undashing will be in 2K24? If Cody is the cover star here, I kind of suspect they will, but the thing I worry about is that they would end up putting it into my faction. That's where I see it very possible. But I would love it if they did, like, if Cody's the cover star, it'd be cool if they did a pre-order bonus of Cody and they were like, here is Dashing, Undashing, and you get like the different eras of Cody. That'd be a lot of fun. You kind of get like a Nightmare family pre-order edition. I don't know, but I would love to see it if they did, but I worry it'll be my faction. Kadar says, if you could start a wrestling promotion, oh, that's a bad idea. What big name would you sign first? For example, Chris Jericho was a big name that signed at the start of AEW. Chris Jericho is not a good name to throw around right now, is he? But, I mean, if you had your pick, I would probably do someone like MJF if he was done with AEW. I would want somebody that's kind of young and like right on the cusp of breaking out. Swerve is another person I would want to sign. I think just because of longevity. The name of like a Jericho is great because it's like, here's all that name value, that cachet that you could add in there. If it was on WWE side, you might want someone like a Seth Rollins, who's kind of been there, done that, Kevin Owens. You would need a big name to be able to bring in and draw. So one of those names, probably MJF. Carlos Sevilla says, who would you, me, want as the cover star showcase? It could be Randy, Triple H, Undertaker, etc. I personally want it to be Undertaker for those match types: the Casket, Buried Alive, Inferno, Last Ride, etc. Oh, Last Ride is fun. A mini Bray showcase, or just the characters of the bonus match like Fiend, Taker, Unlock, Fiend, Guy Can Dream. I agree. So for me, I mean Cody I think is the cover star. I think a showcase will be different. I can really see them doing an Undertaker showcase. Taker retired. Taker has done his Last Ride shows where he's doing his one-man stand-up routine in his interviews. He's broken character. He did the Last Ride documentary. So there's a million stories you could tell with Undertaker, and it doesn't have to be the Undertaker WrestleMania matches. They could pull a couple, and then you could do just a lot from his catalog from the very early days of WWF with him, all the way, like with Kane, the Inferno match, Buried Alive, like you said. There's special guest referee matches, the end of an era match. They've done that in the previous 2K games, but there's so much they can pull from that. They did a Defeat the Streak a couple of years ago. So I don't know, they could give us 14, 15 Undertaker matches. The other names, I'm with you. I'd personally want a Triple H showcase or a Randy Orton showcase. Triple H personally, because I just really like Triple H. And his career is really cool, and I've kind of like lived through his career arc the whole way, so it'd be cool to see like if they pulled like Terror Rising from WCW and gave you that as a character, the Blue Blood, all the way to DX. Like they could do a lot with Triple H, and he's had feuds with basically everybody and a lot of the different match types. So one of those names I think would work. Bray as like a mini showcase, I can see them doing, or even just a match. That's why Taker showcase would work. You can give us Undertaker, Bray in that match. Pedro Martinez says, do you think in 2K24 we will get new match types like the Iron Survivor Challenge or the Fight Pit? Between those two, I would hope we would get Iron Survivor. I'm not a big fan of the Fight Pit. It's just another cage match. Like it's got a little tweak to the cage and that's it. I don't think it's attractive enough for players, and WWE's only done it like what? Twice, I think. I could be wrong. Iron Survivor is like becoming a staple of NXT. If not this year, I can see them doing Iron Survivor next year if WWE continues to do it. But those are the new match types, and that's really the only new match types like WWE has really done, right? They haven't done a lot of new authentic match types. So Iron Survivor Challenge would be the one I want to see. It doesn't seem too hard. It's like a mixture of like, well, it's like King of the Mountain, but for WWE, it's like War Games. Like if you were trying to build it within 2K, you just got the pods and they got like the penalty boxes and they got the timer and the clock. So I don't know, it's a scramble match with like a penalty box. They could figure it out, even if they got to get the wrestlers just to kind of disappear into the background while you kind of go through it. So Iron Survivor would be cool. Crash says, do you think 2K24 will be a copy of 2K23 with an updated roster? Will the gameplay feel the same, or do you think they'll make some changes so the game doesn't feel like 22 and 23? For me, I don't know, but I feel like it'll be very, very similar to 22 in terms of gameplay. I hope they get rid of like the red glow that you get when you get beaten down. I don't need that. But gameplay, controller, moves, I think it's going to play roughly the same. Now they introduced one of those new moves in a patch / the DLC this past year, where it was like a sequence where you press 2 buttons to do the suplex or whatever it was. I think they're going to introduce more of that, because there were reports, even from the devs, I believe, that they were working on that. And if that was if they were able to get that to work better, they were going to keep that and introduce that more and more. So I think we might see a little bit more of a modernization of the gameplay mechanics. where they expand on some of the moves and sequences you can do, but I think the core like gameplay is going to be the same. User TY2WD and so on says, how do you think AEW will do in 24? AEW is in an interesting position, aren't they? Even at like the time of this recording, they are like, MJF is off the roster page. He's very injured apparently. I don't know what the contract stipulation is there. People have left AEW. QT Marshall's are gone. A lot of people that were like AEW originals backstage are leaving or have left the company. I think 24 is very interesting for AEW. Also, I think a lot of contracts are going to come up this year. So it'll be interesting to see where a lot of names land and where the roster is overall. I think they need to do a better job of storytelling. They have some stories in there, but they still can't land some of it. I don't think they need to do any more acquisitions and beef up their roster anymore. I think they should maybe trim the roster a bit and focus really hard on better storytelling week to week and building up big feuds, because we can see that it works. When you tell a big story like the Devil reveal in MJF, it may or may not have landed for you at the very end with the reveal, but at least they were telling a long-tailed story. Swerve is another example where they're just pulling a long story with him. His feud with Hangman was great. So they got some stuff there. I think they'll do fine, but I want to see them improve more with the storytelling in 24. Hi Tay Blossom, I apologize if I got that wrong. If you were a 2K developer, what would you add or change? I don't know the first thing about game development. I just like talking about video games with you guys. I would change it from a annual, if I had the pen, I would change it from an annual cycle, but the devs don't really have say over that. That's like more 2K. But I would want to push for not having it on an annualized basis. I would want more of a bigger game of like, here's the base game and we're going to build off of this for like 2 years and add in more DLC and content. I would scrap my faction. I would rework that whole model completely or just get rid of it. And I would add in for players, I would probably merge GM mode and universe mode into something new, pulling all the assets together somehow and just being like, here's your one ultimate sandbox mode for everything. Continue to add more characters, more roster members throughout the course of the year, more than what they do right now. And just in online community stuff, I would try to give more tools to players as well. Best West 92 says, why do you think that the 2K dev team is always quiet and never interacting with the fans? It's a good question, because I think some developers for different video games, you see some stuff online where they do interact with fans, they do interact with the community a little bit more. And I've noticed that too, that on the WWE 2K side, there's very little fan interaction, player interaction, where they like really take feedback or they're like engaging. You got like the 2K team that runs the Twitter, and that is just honestly just marketing push. Like that's all we ever see. You never see anybody interacting. Probably, if I had to guess, I don't know what value they would really get out of that. Because if you ever look at Twitter X, and when 2K posts something about WWE 2K24, 23 or anything, they are like blasted in the comments of like, this sucks, I hate this, my faction stinks, like all, and people's problems, like they go off. So I think if you had devs, you get really good people that are going to ask real questions and engage like politely and, you know, want to just know more. There's enough people out there, but there's a lot of negativity online. I don't think they want to open themselves up to that personally. JDOGGOCUS-J2, that's a name, man. Aside from Cody or Punk, who would you like to win the Rumble? Gunther would be cool. Roman Reigns, then he doesn't have to fight anybody. No. Gunther would be really cool. Dom would just be interesting. Like I would like Dom to win Money in the Bank, just to, it'd just be interesting to see what they would do. Dom is like just booed and loses everything, and if he somehow won the Rumble by like a fluke and then went off to fight for the world title, it's kind of an interesting story at least. I don't know. LA Knight, of course, but I feel like they've cooled on LA Knight because like now we're getting to Mania season and like the Cody story is building up and CM Punk is here and Seth and all this stuff. And then I feel like LA Knight's kind of pulled back. I kind of like to see if LA Knight won, I'd pop, and I'd like to see LA Knight then go for the world title, but that's probably not going to happen. Meat Knight says, okay, so I got a question about 24. Do you think recent returns of Kairi Sane, Nia Jax, Punk are going to be main or DLC. I even replied to this, but there's a good chance that like Nia Jax is just in the game. I see the likes of Chelsea Green, Kairi Sane, who recently returned, and Punk. I see them being DLC. I think Punk, they'll just make way more money if he is DLC, just from the business side. Would I want Punk in the base game? Yeah, of course. Like, I just give him to me day one when I buy it. Let me play a CM Punk. That's what I want. But what I see them doing is Punk's like the biggest thing they've got right now. Why wouldn't you put it in as DLC and paywall it? And then people will buy it and they'll make more money just from the business side. Kairi Sane I do see as DLC because she has a refresh gimmick. It's not the same as what she had last time, so they can market that too. Nia Jax is exactly the same, so I kind of feel like she would just be added into the game, into the base game. Your Tribal Chief says, is 2K24 going to fix Cody Rhodes' music? And are they gonna add any new stuff? Depends what we mean by new stuff. For Cody's music, there's a decent chance that it is gonna get fixed this year. When Cody came into the last game, from what I heard anyways, just anecdotally, the contract terms are very tight and wasn't really their say, like 2Ks or anybody, if they wanted to get the music unlocked. The band that does the tracks has tweeted out they have no problem with it. So it's a contract thing. It could very well switch where we can actually use it. I think beyond, like, even if Cody's track is locked to Cody Rhodes in the game, I don't have much of a problem with that. It's the alt attire thing that they gotta fix. Like, I think there must have been something in Cody's contract for being in the game where it's like nothing will get changed. You can't tweak him at all. We can put alt attires on him, but the music is muted after that. So they need to fix that for me. Are they gonna add any new stuff? I think you are gonna get new match types. I don't think you're gonna get anything crazy, but I think we're gonna see a lot of like really good fixes for universe mode. And yeah, a couple of new match types. That's my guess. What Little Spike says, what's your favorite WWE rivalry of all time? I mean, Rock and Austin is always legendary for me because I grew up with that. Austin McMahon is, I don't think you can really beat that in a lot of ways. Modern rivalries, I mean, Sammy and Roman's bloodline story was incredible. It's kind of all petered out now, but Sammy and Roman was like must watch. It was the first time in forever that I really felt like I was captivated, like I needed to watch Raw and SmackDown. I needed to watch those segments. Other than that, yeah, I would go back to the days of like Rock, Austin, even Rock Triple H was really good because that was the time when Austin was out on injury. Triple H and Mankind, they had really Cactus Jack, like they had a really good story there. And Austin McMahon, I think, is always just kind of top tier. And GGZB7 says, who is your favorite wrestler and what wrestling game do you want to see become real, like a TNA or New Japan Wrestling game? Favorite wrestler like of all time is probably Austin or Triple H. That's what I grew up on mostly. And I would like to see a TNA game, but I need to see them, like, they're getting the rebrand and the refresh. When that all comes to fruition, I really want to see what the roster shakes out to be. I think a TNA game would be something, because like New Japan, there's a lot of crossover with like AEW. So for me, I kind of feel like I'm already if AEW Fight Forever did way more, did better, they could do like New Japan packs and stuff. So I feel like I could get that game there. But when it comes to, yeah, like TNA would be really cool. Or I would like them to do like just a retro game of like WCW and just pull out WCW and add that in. Do it properly with all like the legends and all the wrestlers, like just something crazy like that. Thank you everybody for submitting your questions. And if you guys can, hit the subscribe button on the channel because that helps out a lot. We're like 4,000 subs away from hitting our 100,000 goal. Happy New Year as the time of this recording. Happy New Year, everybody. Hope you had a good one. It's 2024. Let's crush it. See ya.